Well, hello, internet friends near and far. Welcome to another episode of Parks and Conversation. And if you are new to this whole situation, this is a podcast where we talk about an episode that we watched of Parks and Recreation. So it's pretty simple. I mean, it's all right in the name. But what's also in the name are our names. And my name is Jason, and I'm joined by my friend Jeremy all the way across town by the power of the internet. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey, this is Jeremy saying hi to you.
Now, Jeremy.
Yes, sir.
If you had a fan club, what would you call them?
Schmidt heads.
Yes. Perfect.
Just a bunch of Schmidt heads. What would you call them? Not mine, but yours. Actually, wait, no. What would you call mine?
I would go with the Schmidt head as well.
Okay. All right, cool.
Or Schmitty pants. Schmidt hosses.
The Schmidt hoss. Welcome to the Schmidt hoss.
I think if I had one, my name already sounds like a plural, but it's not. My last name is Duman, and so
Dumans.
Yeah, I'd probably do the Dumans. But then it's all like, what is
or
happening
your fan club
there?
could be like welcome to the Dumania.
Yes, Dumania. That was my username for a long time.
Or the Doom.
A lot of different things.
The Doom Zone, but it's DEUM.
Yeah. Well, I am a doctor, and 1 year for
Dr.
Halloween,
Doom,
I wanted to go as Dr. Doom, but my wife said no.
Well, there you go.
Like wear my doctoral robe stuff and then just wear the mask. That's so easy.
The Dr. Doom mask. To be clear.
But
she said not a doctor mask.
No, she said no. So then I was like, what if I horribly scar my face? And again, no.
Is that what you want?
To horribly scar my face?
Yeah, that's what you say to her. Is that what?
Well, let's take a poll. Citizens of Pawnee, do you want me to horribly scar my face? 100% of the citizens of Pawnee are called Perd-verts. Anyway, there's a poll in this episode. That's why. All right, we should get to this, Jeremy. Today is a no nonsense day because it's a half day, so we have to hustle. Jeremy just joined the document, is what I was told.
Yeah, I feel like there's more half day updates now than there are weather updates. Like we used to. Well, it's all half days.
Well, we're in a time of year where the weather's pretty much the same almost all the time, and so, but I have no idea what my kids are doing in school ever. So this week, my daughter came home. It's like, I have a half day on Friday. I was like, no, you don't. And she's like, my teacher told me I did, and I said no. And then I looked on the website, and she was right. And so then I had to humble myself before my child. I almost died. And I said, you were right, and I was wrong. And then she said, I know. Get used to it.
And you will never get used. I was going to say, and you will never live it down.
Yeah. So
it's all downhill from here.
It is. I mean, she is. She's what we call a strong-willed personality, and so yeah. But what are you gonna do? Just you got to keep her. So that's what I'm doing because I'm afraid. So, Jeremy, what are we talking about today? What episode are we on?
Oh, we're talking about sex education.
Great.
Talking about keeping things.
Now, this episode is one that, we as a podcast, we're a family-friendly organization here. We don't need to get into all the details if you're listening with young ears, but I would advise you, if you are, watching the show with your kids and they have not seen this episode yet, this will not be helpful for them.
There's very little education. I mean, yeah.
Don't think, if you're homeschooling, don't think instead of me doing the sex talk with my kids, I'll play this educational
Leslie
episode.
Do it. Yeah.
Don't do that.
And Andy's on the panel. So, I mean, really, how good could the education be?
Right. So don't let this be a substitute for the actual uncomfortable conversations that you need to have with your children. Da, 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 da. So, anyway, this episode is, there's a lot of funny stuff in this episode. And there's three main plots that I think we could all break down. We got Tom and Ron. We've got Ben and April in DC. And we have Leslie and the crew in Pawnee. What do you say we do this, Jeremy? We start with Tom and Ron, because that's the cold open. And then we jump into Ben and April in DC because it's brief, and then we wrap it all up with the very educational stuff with Leslie.
Sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, Tom, Jeremy, you're on Twitter.
Barely. I have an account. I have an account. Yeah.
I will send you funny things.
You do.
And that's pretty much.
Oh.
That's pretty much your whole Twitter presence is me sending you funny things on Twitter.
Right. And and they're private messages. So,
Yeah, I don't tag you because I don't want to put any light on you because I'm afraid that maybe you'll like shrivel up and die if too many. I'm not like a blowtorch of attention either, but I don't want to put any of that on you. So I just send you private messages.
I appreciate that.
Now, have you ever been tempted to tweet and drive?
Never.
Good.
Have you?
Good. No. But I do like having Twitter when I'm a passenger. Like it is great if you're a passenger. You can like be online, do the Facebook, do the Insta, do the tweets. The only time that I can remember ever like needing to tweet something while driving, and I was at a stoplight, and I knew it was going to take a long time, but I pulled up behind a car carrier that was empty. The big trucks that have a bunch of cars usually on them.
Oh yeah,
the trailers, and it was empty, and I had to send this message out. I took a picture real quick, and I sent a message saying, "Do you ever feel tempted to drive up on these?" And that was it.
Oh my gosh, I saw one yesterday in the turn lane on 99. So it's like it's like 5 lanes with one in the middle. That's like the turn lane middle, and they had just dropped off all the cars. And the ramp was still down? The ramp was down. And I was like, yes. if this were Grand Theft Auto, there's no reason not to.
If this was Grand Theft Auto, I would totally park up there.
And keep going.
I don't think you understand how Grand Theft Auto works. It's not Grand Park Auto.
No, I would jump off of it. I would use it as a ramp.
Use it as a ramp. See, yeah. I never want to use it as a ramp. I want to use it as a way to get to where I want to go.
Oh, no, jump.
Oh, no. That's dangerous. No, see, I would want to just drive up and then say, driver, take me wherever you're going. Because you really, I hate driving. So, so Tom has a bit of a social media problem. He is addicted to screens. And so this opens with him in court. And he is being grilled by the prosecution about what happened to him when he crashed his car. And so Tom, I love how he tries to pull the great swagger move here, right? He says, Your Honor, this was an accident, plain and simple. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but case dismissed. Which I'm going to totally try next time I have to go to court. Case dismissed. And the attorney says, were you texting at the time of your accident? And I was like, how dare you? I was tweeting. Totally different.
Totally different.
And so he then reads all of the tweets. So it starts with 9:15, 4 green lights in a row, #blessed, 9:17, drive faster, blue Civic, #soccer moms, 9:18, got to pass this lady on the juror. That's when I hit the fire hydrant. Sorry, allegedly hit the fire hydrant. He reads all the tweets, and the prosecution just says, prosecution rest, Your Honor. That's the whole case. He documented the whole case for us. And so
I love how he says allegedly hit the fire hydrant. And then the very next one is hit the fire hydrant, but survived. And also, if you look at the piece of paper that the prosecutor holds up, you can see that Jean Ralphio favorited all of Tom's tweets leading up to the crash. Which is a great detail.
Oh, that is great. So Tom now is, it's obvious that he did the wrong thing. And so the judge gives him a punishment fit for the crime, a week without screens, no phones, tablets, computers, television, anything, no screens. And if he messes up, then it will be a month. And so Tom is going to die is basically the whole vibe. So he's like, I got to send one more tweet. And then the bailiff seizes his phone and he's going out the room. He just says, press send. And so that sets us up on Tom's storyline. So we cut to credits and then come back, and Tom comes into Ron's office, and Ron is like, you are a half hour late for work. And Tom says, I couldn't use my GPS. So I just drove around until I saw something familiar.
I've been there. I have totally been there.
To drive to where you work every day?
I mean, no, not every day, but just like, hey, I got to go to this town that I've been to like once or twice. And I'm like, I can figure it out. I just got to find that one building and then I'll know where to go.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
Not this time, friend.
No.
So Ron's like, you come here every day. And Tom's like, look, I'm dumb is basically what Tom's argument is. I can't figure it out. So then it cuts to a talking head where he's like, I can't use screens. Big deal. I'm adapting. And he builds an actual real life Pinterest board with clothes and food and different things. And he clicks on some things like, I really wish you could click on these. So it's all just printed out stuff. Have you, Jeremy, when you have an iPad?
I do.
Have you ever found yourself reading a paper magazine and clicking on something to see if it will take you someplace else?
I have not, but early on in my child's life, she walked up to our TV screen and tried to swipe it.
Yeah, that would be annoying just because the fingerprints.
Sure.
So did you have her move outside?
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to be in the house anymore. So
yeah, that's a good plan. Good plan.
No electronics for her. Have you tried to swipe a physical object? Okay.
Many times.
Okay.
Not just once.
Oh.
Because if it's underlined, it looks like a link.
Right.
Oh, that's not
any blueprint. I just walk around just pressing anything in blue.
Yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I have done that. And then looking around, did anybody see me do that? And then my daughter, who's usually right there in the living room, just looking at me like shaking her head. I can't believe you. So yeah, she knows where all the bodies are.
Get used to it.
Yeah. She's always watching. So the next time we see Tom, he's looking in a mirror over his shoulder. He can see Jerry working on his computer. I love this detail about Jerry. Jerry, when you check your email, you go to Alta Vista and type, please go to yahoo.com.
Now you have a story about a person who, probably won't listen to this podcast, and you don't need to name names, but could you tell the story about the Google searcher?
Well, I have several, but there was one person on Facebook who typed in as their status update, google.com. Like, no, sorry, that was wrong. And then my a dearly departed grandmother-in-law, before she passed away, would search or write in her medical symptoms onto her Facebook updates.
Sorry.
Sorry. Don't do that. So it's one of those things where it's like, maybe grandma should not have social media. So
I just love that it's Alta Vista too.
Yeah, Alta Vista. And then he says, please go to yahoo.com.
Jerry's a nice guy,
Yeah. And so Jerry's like, how else would I go? He's like, you don't have your email bookmarked? What are bookmarks? And he's like, you don't deserve the internet. So then he comes into Ron's office, and he's like, I'm going crazy. I made an iPhone out of paper. It's got little squares for icons and stuff, and all the apps. He's like, nothing's happening. And Ron says, this is the work of a lunatic. And so he decides to take Tom out to the cabin in the woods, so far away that there's no signal, but also the electric company is not even aware that there's a structure there.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tom's on board. But then he first says, can you take me home after work? There's no chance I can find my way back. So, and Ron just nods. Like, I get it. You are a lost child. So cut to Tom and Ron at the cabin, and Tom is, loving it. Fresh air, no screens. And he's getting really good at chopping wood. And he's got a little piece of kindling that he's hitting with a hatchet.
That is laying across the log. Like, it's sideways. Right. It's not
up. Yeah, which is not how you should do that.
Just mashing it, basically.
Yeah, and Ron's like, wow, you're a regular Paul Bunyan. And then immediately Tom is like, ow, I got stung by the wood.
Gotta get to WebMD.
So he's like, I gotta get to WebMD. I something that we can do this. And Ron just grabs his hand and like tucks it under his arm so we can't wiggle out, and just pries it out with a knife. And then he's amazed at what Ron could do, but he's like, I still need to get sterilization techniques. And so
not only that, but the way he does it, like, so he can't wiggle out, but also so Tom can't see what he's doing, because he that's what I have to do with my kids when they get a splinter, because they can't handle like anything, like they get scared. So he's treating him like the child he is.
Right. Yeah. Which is great. I mean, Ron does not have a lot of experience with children, but he does have a lot of experience slaughtering animals.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's came into play here as well.
Never want to see him coming.
Exactly. So, so then Ron's like, why don't you just get all of this stuff out of your system and just say what you do, and they'll float away into the fresh air, and then we will be done. And so Tom starts. And his routine is every day I start by hitting up Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram. Sometimes I like to throw in LinkedIn for the professional shorties. And everyone's like, see, that was easy. And then I go to Reddit. Reddit's great because it has all the important links you need. And Ron immediately looks like he regrets this. Cut back to Tom, and so falls over the thing and comes back there on a canoe. Wikipedia is mankind's greatest invention. You can learn about anything. Take Ray J, for example. We all know he's a singer. He's Brandy's brother, but he was also in a classic sex tape with Kim Kardashian. But did you know he's also in Mars Attack? Suddenly, you're on Mars Attack's page. I love G, and another cut to another scene. I love GChat. You can talk to anybody. I hit up Brad.Pitt. It wasn't the actor, but it was a guy named Brad, that teacher in Pittsburgh. We don't have a lot in common, but we chat quite a bit. And then another scene. Emoji are like little cartoons that you text of words. Instead of saying, what up, boo, you can type what up, and then a cute little ghost. And that means boo. There's also a little Indian guy, but he's got a turban on. I think that's racist. But then there's an Asian guy that also has a racist hat on. And I'm like, didn't Japanese people invent this? Another scene, podcasts. There are a million of them, and they're all amazing.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Oh, your friends, how amazing they all are.
Yeah, John Ralphio and I have one called Nacho Average Podcast, where we rate different kinds of nachos. It seems like, and then Ron's like, that's it. I've had enough. No more. I mean, what Tom is expressing here is the problem of our modern technological age. So there's so many things. And Ron does not understand any of this. So he says, you have a problem. You are an addict and you need to change. And cut to Tom. His response, I've downloaded every episode of Intervention. I know what to do here. And so he's like, yes, you're right. I'm an addict. I accept this. I feel like we've really made some progress here. And Ron's like, I feel like we're going to get a feelings territory. So let's just stare in the fire in silence. And then Ron's like, no, I've got a better idea, Ron. Why don't I go, you chop more wood, I'll go get some steaks. Perfect. Gives him his keys, and Tom leaves. Now, why, Jeremy? Why would Ron give Tom his keys when he doesn't know how to drive from his house to work?
Because I like to think that it's like basically a 1-lane road for about 10 miles in one direction. And when it comes out, it's on the highway that food and stuff is probably on. So it's very few turns.
That makes sense. That's got to be the best possible solution.
Yeah.
But
as we know, Tom doesn't exactly make it back either. So
no, because we cut to Ron coming through the woods and with a hat on or a light hat thing. And Tom immediately says, a deer jumped in front of the car and then a bear jumped in front of the deer. And Tom has crashed into a tree. And then Ron figured out how Twitter works. It's like, Tommy Edamame is back on the grid. Tell everyone to light me up with their digis. Gotta load them into my burner. So we find out Tom went to Best Buy and got a burner phone, and Ron is pissed. So they takes him out and they start walking, and he's like, where are we going to go? Best Buy to get a better phone. So this is, Tom's got a real problem. So next day they're in the office and Tom says, please forgive me. And Ron is upset, and he's like, you have a need to be constantly distracted. And so, and Tom says, like, look, my life's not great. And so I go to these screens because things in my life aren't great. And so Ron's like, well, go sit in your office while I think about whether or not to turn you in. Ooh, that's a dad moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
He's in timeout.
Oh, is he ever? So Tom is in his office. He's got rubber bands on his keyboard, like red X rubber bands. Like, you can't use this. And Ron gives Tom a book made out of paper from a tree. It's called Auto Repair Manual 1982. And so he's saying, you're going to read this, and then you're going to help me fix what you broke with my car, and I will not report you. But so you're going to help me make it right. And then he gives him more life advice. When you get your phone back, you will not stare at it while you're talking to another human being. Look a man in the eye when you speak with him. And if you ever need to discuss your problems with someone, find Leslie. She lives for that crap. So Ron is going to help rehab Tom back into real life.
I like to think that Tom taught Ron a little bit about internet culture. I mean, not that he cares, but just, that those are things. So when he hears them, he's not completely out of the loop. I mean, Tom gets the better end of the deal, learning how to fix cars and stuff. But, Ron gets slowly pulled into the 21st century.
Yeah. I would love to know what Ron would, what his social media he would be on, if any. So, like, I don't think he'd be on Twitter. It's too much words.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, or maybe Twitter, just because it has a very finite,
has a limit.
Yeah, made a very good canoe.
This canoe is excellent.
Cooked meat today.
Yeah,
it would just be.
Yeah, Twitter could be the best one.
I don't know.
Yeah. All right, let's go with Twitter. Ron's on Twitter. All right, go find him, everybody. Find Ron. So let's go to the next one with April and Ben. They're in the DC office, and the congressman that they're working for is coming to the office, and they've never met him before. And so April says, wow, there he is, Barack Obama. And Ben's like, his name is Congressman David Murray. He is our boss, and he is white. Don't embarrass me.
It's such a congressman name too, David Murray. I don't know why. Like, I was like, have I heard of this guy before? Like, it sounds familiar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is a white guy. So, So Ben introduces himself, and then April introduces herself as April Blart Mall Cop. And the congressman just says, great. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Ben. Heard such great things. And then he's like, yeah, I appreciate working with you. I watch your speeches, debates. It's very inspiring. And then the congressman, thank you, Ben. And thank you for all your hard work. And he looks at everybody. He's like, now stay cool. It's a hot one out there today. And then April tries to joke with him. That's right. You could practically cook an egg on a sidewalk. And he just looks at her and is like, terrific. Walks on by. And it's like, this is weird. And April sees how weird this is. And he goes into his office, and she says, we're still going to assassinate him, right? And Ben's like, don't say that. And she looks in the congressman's office as he's sitting there, and he's just sitting there staring into the distance. And she's like, what is he doing? So this is now April's project. And so next time we cut back to them, April's looking at the congressman through the window in his office, and she's like, Ben, look at this. And she's like, what am I looking at? That's the point. He's just sitting in there all morning, not looking at anything. He's just staring ahead, doing nothing. He's a robot. And Ben's like, no, he's probably just thinking, we're going over his speeches or something. And April's like, no, he's thinking like 10101 must eat babies for fuel. And Ben, because he can't help himself, it's like, why would a robot need to consume organic matter?
Because of the Matrix.
Right. Yes.
Ben, come on, man.
Ben would have been like,
he would have known that.
Yeah. But I think maybe he's like, I don't think the Matrix is believable enough, because why would a robot want to consume organic matter?
Right. It's not hard.
So
It's not hard sci-fi for Ben.
no.
But although he does like Star Trek, so it's
Yeah, but Data doesn't eat. So
that's true.
or does he?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back, watch it all again. All right. So then Ben's like, let's just go see what's in his office. So they go in and bring him a briefing packet, and they look to the wall that the congressman's staring at, and there's nothing there. So they leave, and April's like, all right, all systems operational. So then they're setting up like a video shoot, and they need the congressman to come over, but like the media director or the campaign director, somehow this guy is they're giving instructions, and Ben's like, hey, can I ask you about the congressman? He seems a little robotic or something. And the guy's like, yeah, he's great. He just shows up, does what he has to, and then just sits there. No surprises. It's perfect. And that is exactly what he wants. So the congressman comes in and is like, let's just do a stump speech run through. And it's like, okay, dokie. We've gone through some difficult times, but we're from Ohio. We're tough. We won't just survive these dark times. We will thrive. And he's like staring in the camera, totally robotic. And like, that's great. And the congressman's like, cool beans. See you later. And just walks away. And the campaign manager guy's like, oh, I love him. He's so great. So then, we have Congressman Murray is a robot. And so the credit scene, April and Ben are leaving the office, and April's like, you ready to go? And Ben starts acting all robotic. Yes, I am, April. Let's go now. Wonderful. Hey, be careful out there. Traffic is nuts on the streets and roads. So he gets up and walks away, and he's like, let's go eat some batteries. I mean, human food. So, yeah, Ben and April bonding in DC, having a good old time, and realizing that Congress people are crazy. So, yeah. Anything else in that thread that we need to highlight?
No, I don't think it was a robot. I think it was a lizard person. But other than that,
well,
I think they just went down the wrong conspiracy.
Okay, well, let's unpack this. The lizard people.
Yeah.
Why?
What do you mean?
Why would he be a lizard person and not a robot?
Well, because that's who runs the government, is the lizard people.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know where this robot narrative came from.
Well, do you think the lizard people have robots?
I mean, they could. That's a great point too. Maybe the lizard people are a few, like the Congress. So maybe it's higher up is where the lizard people sit, and then like the Congress and
in the attic.
Yes, yeah, the attic of the Supreme Court and the White House.
Okay,
that's where they hang out
because they can sun themselves more easily, like lizards.
Yeah, and they can hide.
This makes so much sense. You really got me thinking about some important stuff here.
Yeah. It's the fourth branch of the government, the lizard branch.
Lizard aliens? Mm-hmm. Are they aliens, or were they here first?
That's what we don't know. That's, some would say that, that's where the pyramids, the lizard people helped build the pyramids. That was the beginning of civilization. And then they kind of took over from there.
They took over, but quietly.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Because they're lizards.
Right. They introduced technology. But they knew how to control it with the mind control anyway. It doesn't really matter. We don't right. We can't. Yeah.
Do you think that people believe lizards have mind control powers because of the snake in the Jungle Book cartoon?
Mm. Well, yeah. The hypnotic snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yeah, the hypnotic snake.
Yeah, and the thing about there was a lot more, but I believe it got censored. Like that was as far as that got out. And
the lizard people were like, yeah, let's redirect them to snakes.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's let them think that boa constrictors have this power.
Yeah, not the four-legged creatures, just the snakes. That's why people hate snakes so much. You never hear people like, oh, lizards are so gross.
Oh, I hate lizards.
How come?
One time, thank you for asking. People never ask. One time I was in Mexico, and I was using a bathroom.
A baño.
El baño, sí. I was going to the baño, and as I was doing the work of the baño, I looked up in the corner, and there was an iguana just hanging out.
I want to go to the bathroom with you.
Yeah, and I did not like that at all.
How big was it? The
Iguana size. I mean, they're big. They're not small, and they're totally harmless, but they're still, they're basically little dinosaurs that are still around. So,
which is great. That's how you know that they're lizard people. I mean, it makes sense. They've been here since the beginning.
I guess so. Yeah. So, do you think that? Now, this is an important question. Do you think that iguana was sent there by the lizard people to just spy on me when I was going to the bathroom?
I think all of them, all. It's kind of like that. I mean, the whole birds aren't real thing. You know, it's pretty ridiculous because everyone knows it's all about the lizards.
It's misdirection again.
Once again, yeah. Totally. Yep. Brought to us by Big Lizard, and that's why you rarely see them in pet stores. I mean, they're there. They're like bearded dragons, because I don't think that those lizards, or they might be the ones that are like, it's fine, I'll just hang out at the pet store. But the rest of the lizards, you never just really see, like geckos and stuff. They're
Except the Geico gecko.
Well, he's probably going to turn out that he's been in charge the entire time, like hiding in plain sight kind of thing.
Right. They're like winning us over with his adorable accent and funny jokes.
Right.
And his love of jam.
Yeah. The toast one. Yes. I forget how much lizards love jam.
A lot of people do. And now I'm worried. My wife loves to make jam.
Did she just make jam?
No. I mean, we use it, but
that's what they want.
Do I? Oh man, now so I'm scared.
You might want to check on your wife, because she didn't want you to dress as Dr. Doom because you were wearing robes, which is too close to what the lizards dress like. I'm just saying, man. It's all connected, Jason.
Oh my gosh, I got to sit down, and I am sitting down.
You sit down more. Sit down harder. All right, let's let this decompress and get. Because we have to learn more about sex education before we haven't even gotten there yet.
Do you think that maybe I was stalling?
I thought you were like, hey, this is a pretty good bit. Let's just keep going.
Two things can be true. This is probably one of the most uncomfortable parts of Parks and Recreation ever. This whole thing with Leslie trying to teach senior citizens about sex education. And the one redeeming quality of this whole section is Andy is us.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. Okay. Don't say what you were about to say, Jason. So Anne shows up at the office, and she's dressed like a cowgirl. And Leslie's like, what's with the getup? And so she's dating this new dude, a guy named Ricky, and they went to a dude ranch. And so now she's dressing like a cowboy, because this is something that Anne does. She becomes her boyfriend. And so this is going to be an important plot point later for their relationship and their communication. And so they're going into a meeting, and Leslie starts the meeting by saying, great news, lots of old people have chlamydia.
Yeah.
And people are pretty excited about it. And now I want to be excited about something. I take notes as I watch this, and I spelled chlamydia correctly the first try. Thank you.
Well, you know how to spell your STDs.
Well, I don't have chlamydia, so it's not my STDs. I can hear people's applause. Like, that's crazy. How did you do that? And I just kind of guessed. So. But it was right. So yay! So Leslie points out this problem.
Chlamydia.
Chlamydia. Chlamydia.
There you go.
Nailed it. Don't say what you're about to say, Jason. All right. So
that's a different sure show.
Exactly. So Leslie is saying the seniors are having lots of time on their hand. They've got ED medication and a little bit of charm, and so STDs are having a field day because a lot of these older folks, never had proper sex education. And so they are going to provide a public forum at the senior center to help kind of bring down these STDs. So Leslie's idea is to have everybody ask their most gross questions to Anne, because she's a nurse.
To get her ready for all the questions that the old people can ask her.
Right. And so the first question from Leslie is, I'm an old lady. Why do I need birth control? I haven't had my monthly since LBJ was president. So that's the tone we're getting. So Anne's response is like, we're more concerned with disease than pregnancy. And then Andy asks whether or not pubic hairs get longer as you get older. And Anne says, I don't think so. And then Andy's like, well, it's happening to me. And then Jonna asks, could I eat lube? And then Andy has another question saying, I ran over one of my testicles with my Jazzy scooter. This is just not a super fun round of questions that Anne's responding to, but she responds to all of them. Leslie asks, like, hey, you look like you're good to go, nursey. I want to jump on that caboose. And Anne says, you should never eat lube. Go see a doctor immediately. And you have to be under 40 to ride this train. And they're like, yeah, we're ready for this meeting. So
Jason, I just want to say you're doing really great with this. I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you. I'm going as quickly as I can.
I'll try not to slow you down too much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
In the middle of the sensitive parts too.
Great. And there's going to be things that I'm not going to get into too much in this next part.
I'll make sure you don't miss anything.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So they get to the senior center, and Leslie opens by saying, hello, can everybody hear me okay? And the whole crowd says, no.
Because they're old.
Oh, that made me laugh so hard this morning as I was watching that. I was like, no. Because I am a pastor, and I have a good number of older folk in our congregation. And I have had that moment where everybody hear me? And I've had people say no. I'm like, well, I'm going to just go anyway. But I also have folks in our congregation who don't realize that they're not whispering. They'll just talk to one another. And it's like when somebody's praying, somebody will just lean over and start talking. And it's like, oh, this is great.
When I was younger, we at the church I went to, there was this one lady, can't remember her name, very nice, and she sat about 4 or 5 rows from the pastor in the front, and her hearing aid would go off.
Yeah,
and it would go off for a long time, to the point where multiple times in our time there, he would kind of have to remind her from the pulpit to check her hearing aid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just cracked me up because I'm like, how come she can't hear? Oh, that's right. She's deaf. That's why she needs it in the first place.
Yeah. You have to be like, and like clapping, like trying to get her attention and like pointing at the ear. And she's like, yeah, no problem.
And the best part about that is that that just means if she can't hear that, she can't hear the sermon
telling her.
So she's not even pretending to listen at that point.
Yeah. She's just going for attendance award at this point.
So great.
Like, I haven't missed a Sunday since 48.
What they talk about?
Couldn't tell you. We had somebody, and he is no longer with us. But he had hearing aids, but he also had a scooter, and he also had an oxygen situation. Like, he was on he always had an oxygen tank with him and stuff. And his oxygen tank we would hear these loud pitched alarms, and we thought it was his hearing aid. And so it was like, we would hear it, and we had a whole system where one of our team would go and say like, hey, your alarms are going off. And he'd be like, oh, thank you. And he would fix it. Right. But we come to find out it was not his hearing aid that was going off. It was his oxygen tank alarm, because he was like not breathing enough. And we're like, oh, okay. So how do we help him stay alive like during service? If he can't hear his oxygen tank,
oh man,
like every Sunday he showed up, I was like, all right, we got to keep him alive. He's got to get home.
Not today. Not today.
So, and
not on my watch.
Yeah. He's such a sweet man, but it's like, you can't hear your alarm. Can you get a vibrate system going? So it's like, but yeah. So Leslie asks the people about their sexual activity, and she also asks, "What are the risks of unprotected sex?" And the guy says, "Heart attack, falling in love, partner dies on top of you." And I just love that somebody said, "Falling in love." But then Leslie points out that it's actually sexually transmitted diseases. And so that's what we're going to be teaching you about, how to use protection. So they start walking through that line, and I'm scrolling down to the next section.
Andy was like, are they really doing it? It's like, and Donna's like, yeah, what do you think? It was like, I don't know. I just thought they were talking about it. And then it's like the waves of realization just wash over him. It's like,
yeah. So, yeah, Andy is us. So, so he was like, I didn't know this was going to be the real thing. And so then cut back to the situation where Donna and Andy are teaching, and Andy is holding 3 bananas and Donna has a pineapple. I don't know what's going on there, but Donna says, if you encounter this scenario, like, what? What's happening? And Chris comes running in. He's like, great job, very informative, but we need to stop and pretend like this never happened. And so Leslie doesn't understand why. And then the Langmans come in. Marcia and Marshall Langman are the town's morality watchdogs. And Leslie says Marcia is motivated, calculated, and hypervigilant. And her husband, Marshall, is vivacious. So he's very stereotypical in what maybe a closeted gay man might be, or something like that is what they're communicating. And so, So Marshall is... it basically says, like, this is what's happening, is not allowed. And Marcia's like, we are from the Family Stability Foundation, object to this smut being taught. And she says it's against Pawnee's abstinence only sex education law. And Anne is like, that's only for schools. But Chris points out, no, the way it's written, it could apply for anything. We can only talk about abstinences only throughout the entire town of Pawnee. And so Marshall says, thank you, Chris. And Chris just looks like flirty, like, thank you, Chris. And Chris looks like, you're welcome. And so they say, if you teach it to Marcia then says, if you teach this to the seniors, the next thing you know is that it'll be taught to our high schools, then our kindergartners. Is that what you want? And so they shut it down. And Leslie is upset, but they pack it up, and she says, like, pack up, Andy, and he's eating the bananas that were used for demonstration purposes. So then they cut back to the office, and Anne's coming in another day, new shirt, another like cowboy themed shirt. And Donna says, new shirt? Yeah. And she's like, do you like it? And Donna says, it's not my favorite shirt, but it is my least favorite shirt. So they all come together to watch the Perd show. You heard with Perd, and Marcia is saying, like, we believe strongly teaching and practicing abstinence for this married couple, which is funny. And Marshall then says, we all have some crazy urges from time to time, but you just can't act on them. You have to bury them way down deep inside. You have to say, get out of here, you crazy urges. You're not welcome in this brain of mine. And then Perd cuts to a chart. And so here's some statistics I'd like you to share with you now. And they are numbers. Some 85% of Pawnee residents support abstinence-only education. The other 15% are perverts, Marshall says. JK, you guys. And then Perd then adds, and 100% of Pawneans are Perd-verts. That's the name I call fans of the show, based on the fact that my name is Perd. See you after the break, Perd-verts.
And then the Langmans are just like, they're just laughing. They're just cracking up at it.
So let's, like, now they're in a real predicament here, because
a predicament.
Yes. I did not mean to do that. But because they see, like, 85% of the town wants abstinence only education. And so Anne's like, we got to change this. And, but Les is like, I can't do it, but the people support the law, and those numbers I can't do anything. It's political suicide. And so Anne is like, so we're just going to do with the thing that we know doesn't work. And so Leslie's like, yeah, put your sex toys and play with them at your own home, Anne. And then Andy says, I did eat all the bananas, so you can't play with those. So now they're going back to the senior center to give the proper town approved sex education. And they give Marcia gives Leslie a brochure. Well, come to find out, the title is "So You Think You Know Better Than God," and she says, "I recommend you read chapter 3." And Leslie goes to it and reads, "There's a party in your pants and no one is invited." So so then Marcia's like, Anne's like, this is all ridiculous, and Marcia's like, maybe not where you come from in Transylvania. And Marshall's like, huzzah. And Anne, this is where I feel most seen. She's like, I'm from Michigan. That's not worth saying.
Hey, you're from Michigan.
I am from Michigan, but that moment of that's not worth saying. Oh man, that was definitely a moment for me where like, yep, nobody cares when I say, oh, I'm from Michigan. It's like, oh, is that still a state? It's Canada Light.
Most hand warming shape state. I got there. I was trying to say it without saying mitten, because that's just like that's easy.
Yeah, well, I do love that there are some geographic formations on our great wonderful planet that we have footwear and handwear covered. Because Italy looks like a boot,
right?
Michigan looks like a mitten,
right?
Canada looks like a weird hat.
And that's it. Florida's our colostomy bag. There you go.
Florida. The jorts of America.
Love you, Florida.
Yeah, well, it's okay. It's hot there. Why do you live there? There's so many lizards. Anyway. So they Anne is frustrated with Leslie that she's just kind of rolling over on this whole thing. And she's like, you're not acting like yourself. And Leslie's like, oh, you really want to go there? And so they're like, what do you mean? And it's like, well, every time you date a different guy, you dress like that person. So Andy dressed like flannels, Chris dressed in spandex. With Ricky, you dress like a cowgirl. And so then, and so they're frustrated, and Leslie walks away. And then Marshall walks by and says, girl, you look like Annie Oakley and Pippi Longstocking had a baby, and I love it. So accurate. So cut back to them, and Marshall is giving an inspirational rap? ? Jeremy, will you read for this, for the listener, the rap that Marshall provides for us?
I'm Marshall Langman, and I'm here to say the sex before marriage is never the way. I waited till marriage and then some to do it. If you decide to sin, you'll rue it.
Word.
And Marcia's clapping like, yeah. I love that she's like singing along with him. Like, okay, we practice this. Yes. Keep it going.
Oh man. I waited until marriage and then some to do it. So, as somebody who grew up in church, I've had plenty of abstinence talks. And parents, if you are asking your children to practice abstinence, to wait until they're married, great. I love it. That's a wonderful thing for you to say to your kids. Good, go for it. If you are ever tempted to bring a rap into the conversation, stop right there. If you're ever tempted to bring puppets into the conversation, not today. Rethink your whole life.
Not today, not ever.
You got to slow down. So just have the awkward conversation. Just do it. The conversation. So Leslie gets up to start walking through the brochure and giving the abstinence only education for the seniors. And It's not going to go well. But she says, the safest way is to postpone sex until marriage. And then one of the ladies says, like, I'm not going to be told not to have sex by someone who's 10 years my junior, talking about Leslie. And so Leslie's like, well, maybe you're right, but let's look at this pamphlet. So you think you know more than God. And the first thing she reads, our bodies are God's gift, but they're also the devil's playground. The devil likes to hide in all your private nooks and crannies. And if you open too wide, you might get out or in. And then Leslie's like, no, this is terrible. And so then someone says, like, hey, can you show us how to do the common demonstration? I don't know where Lou has been. And so then she does. So she takes the banana and shows them how to apply a condom, and they appreciate it. But this is not going well.
And I think at this point too, if you look at the table, Donna, it's gone from the banana, cucumber, and pineapple, and now there's a melon on the table as well. So they just keep adding more fruit.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah. So there's a commercial break after, as Leslie's saying, like, let's talk about safe sex for everybody, and then it cuts back from the commercial, and Leslie has gotten an official censure from the mayor's office, which Mayor Gunderson, who is a invisible, powerful hand in the town of Pawnee, is disciplining Leslie. And I mean, it's so official. Look at the paper quality. So yeah. So then she's talking to Chris, and she's like, I don't know what to do about this. And Chris is like, well, she thinks Leslie thinks that Chris is still her boss, but actually Leslie is Chris's boss now that she's on city council. It's like, why am I so afraid of you? It's like, well, I'm confident and make a lot of eye contact. But then he says, as your city manager, I recommend you formally apologize. But as between you and me, as your best friend, I kind of admire what you did up there. And Leslie's like, you're not my best friend. Right. So, yeah. So then Leslie and Anne talk. They run into each other, and Anne is dressed appropriately. And Leslie's like, I got censured. It's a big deal. But Anne says, you were elected to lead and not follow. And then Anne's like, I probably shouldn't have said what I did say. And Leslie's like, yeah, I feel terrible about what I said too. And Anne's response, no, you were right. And Leslie, I know. I know, but I still feel terrible. So they're making up. Their friendship will survive this. So then she's on Perd's show. Leslie's going on Perd's show. And he comes back and says, the story of that commercial break is it's over. So Leslie explains to Perd what censure means. And she's being disciplined, and she says, well, you know what they say, you break it, you buy it. Or Perd says, you break it, you buy it. And Leslie's like, that doesn't apply here. And Perd's response, tell that to the folks at Pier 1, an establishment I am no longer allowed inside. And so Leslie apologizes, but not for the demonstration that she gave, but for the antiquated laws in the city. And so she says, I'm going to work to try to overturn these rules to help, because everybody wants fewer unwanted pregnancies and fewer STDs. And so you can disagree on the different tools that you have available, but Leslie's argument is we should try to use all of them to prevent these other things that we all agree we don't want. And so Perd closes this section by saying, wow, strong words from a woman who is trying to pin a piece of paper to her blazer, so she's trying to put her censure on there with her little American flag pin. And next up on the program, we hear from you, our fans, in our new segment. Are you there, Perd-verts? It's me, Perd, hosting a new segment. Oh, so good.
Perd-verts.
So then Leslie calls up Ben and talking about how they're killing her in the press. Again, Pawnee has way too many papers, whatever. But the Pawnee Sun is calling her loosely grope. Yeah, so she's basically saying, like, I'm going to get working on a draft to start overturning these abstinence-only laws. So that is the end of the episode. So, yeah, fun one. fun one. Any trivia or anything like that, Jeremy, that you discovered in your researches?
Oh yeah, when I read the IMDb page on this, I did.
Mhm.
I clicked on the tab for trivia, and one of the other things, and I thought I didn't know if I heard it correctly, but this confirmed it. Is that Leslie, when she at the very beginning, she calls the group the Sex Avengers, and then of course it turns out Pratt would later be an Avenger.
An Avenger.
Yeah,
kind of. He's a Guardian of the Galaxy. Would we call him an Avenger?
I wouldn't, but he was in Avengers Endgame, so I mean, close enough.
Yeah, and Infinity War.
Yeah,
he's in both of those.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, and way to go, Chris.
Yeah, and now Jurassic and dinosaurs, which have lizards. Boom.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question? Are you watching any of the Olympics?
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, there's an ad for the Olympics and the new Jurassic Park movie.
Mm-hmm. At the same time?
Yeah. It's people Olympicing, like athletes, and then dinosaurs show up.
Mm-hmm. I would watch that.
If that was the actual movie, sure.
Oh, wait, that's not the movie?
No, these are the ads to remind us that we are watching the Olympics and a Jurassic Park movie is coming.
So the thing that we're doing right now, we're being reminded that that's what's happening and watch this movie.
Yes. And I am really mad about it.
It sounds like it. Are the dinosaurs doing like cool tricks and stuff?
No,
like
no. I mean, if there was like a velociraptor on a snowboard,
right?
Like doing like sick air hand grab for twisties or whatever they call them. I don't know what to call them. I don't snowboard.
With like a backwards hat and saying "rad, dude."
Yeah, like sick air, bruh. If that was the commercial, and then they said Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, I'd be like, great.
Yeah,
but this. Somebody read a book about synergy and they said, let's do it.
or like something they're doing the half pipe, or like they're skiing down the hill and there's just
the dinosaurs.
And they're just being chased by dinosaurs.
That would be great
the whole way down, just like these ice dinosaurs. Because isn't the new Jurassic Park movie like kind of wintry anyway?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because you saw aren't they in the commercial? Anyway,
well,
I saw
there is no actual commercial for Jurassic Park in this commercial. It's just the dinosaurs telling us reminding us that Jurassic Park is coming, but it doesn't have Chris Pratt or anything in the commercial. It's just snowboarders and dinosaurs, and they're all friendly dinosaurs. Like a brontosaurus,
awesome idea.
leans over